Hey, thank you so much for joining us on Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I am music producer Achickwitbeatz, and I am currently solo in the coop today, but sending warm wishes to my co-host Breezy Gipson. And so, as usual, we got another great show lined up for you. There's tons of music industry news, and of course, beats by yours truly. And since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, got a special guest coming through to chat about different things that artists can do to make sure that their mental health is okay, because anybody that's been doing this for a minute knows that this can be a really, really stressful industry, and so it's important to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And so we're going to chat about some ways to do that and make sure that you have the resources that you need to keep your mind healthy so you can keep going and keep sharing your gift with the world. So with that being said, I'm really excited to get into it. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and dive in. Let's go. right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I am thrilled, excited, and delighted to announce that we have Cinqué Barlow in the building with us, the virtual building. And as a healthcare professional for over 10 years, he's got some advice to share, some wisdom to share, some information regarding mental health for everyone, but specifically for artists, because this is something that, we tend to struggle with and don't necessarily acknowledge. And so without any further ado, here is Cinqué Barlow.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you. Appreciate you for inviting me. Yeah, as I was talking to you before, I've been in the field a little over 10 years. Prior to being in the mental healthcare field, totally different career, which I won't even talk about because I didn't like it. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, so currently work in a community health clinic here in the state I live in, which is Connecticut. And I appreciate you bringing me on the show because mental health for everyone is so key now. And as I was telling you before we started, I believe in 2022 we're in a good place for mental health as far as awareness. But I remember back 30 years, there was something we did not talk about. Mm-hmm. And if you did, nobody knew what you were talking about. Now, the younger generation, and again, I'm old. I would say I'm in my 50s, all right? So you know where I'm when I say 30 years ago. So, yeah, the younger generation is definitely more in tune with themselves, their mental health, which is fantastic. And I just encourage folks to not let things fester and address any issues as soon as possible. And you asked me to come on and be specific to artists. Well, like I was saying, artists, unique breed. I love. I think although I'm not, I don't do music, I don't paint or do craft or anything like that, which is typically considered art. Just the way I think, I always considered myself an artist.
Yeah, I don't know. Your love for hip hop. I mean, we've been connected for a while. To be a hip hop head on the level that you are, you could call yourself an artist. Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll take that. But I'll take that. But the thing, as we were mentioning before, with artists' mental health, it's one thing when we look up and we see these artists, these established artists who have made it. And even those artists, they have struggled with their own health to get where they are. So my question when I was asking you, like, artists, up and coming artists, how are they handling it? Are they, how do they handle that? No, you can't play this menu. No, that song is terrible. No, I don't like that beat. That's trash. Like, how do you deal with that rejection? Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're prepared for it, but that can weigh on someone heavily. And then, as we were discussing before, the artist part. Hey, everybody has a what I call a real life. Your friends, family, loved ones, balancing all that. The work-life balance. Because I really believe that's key to mental health and work life. If you let it all bleed into one, it gets kind of murky. And I really do think most folks need a separation between the two. I think that helps provide some balance, and there's things we can do individually to provide better balance for ourselves. So what I was going to say, so like artists, right? Kind of, the creativity, the drive, all of that. But then, when you're talking music, there's a business part to it, and you're not always free to be as creative as you want. And then, of course, just regular life stuff. You're an artist, you're doing the music, or whatever medium you use, whether it's drawing, painting, music, you're doing that. But then, you have social commitments, you have a life, right? So balancing all that stuff is difficult. But I tend to, the artist's mind I've always been amazed with, and it's very different from other folks. Because of the creativity, and nothing is linear. It's not like from here to here. It's like there's a lot of theory and concepts, and I can't even explain it because I always think of myself as an artist, although I don't do music or any of that stuff. It's just the way I think, and I've been around a lot of artists, musicians, various stuff, and I understand and I think in that kind of, it's not a linear, like, this is how we get to here type of thing. But all that said, mental health is key, obviously, but particularly if you want to pinpoint it to artists, I think because of our creativity and not wanting to, stay within boundaries, that's when things kind of can get blurred. Like, of course, we all know the substance use, right? That's just like, the old, some people think it unlocks X, Y, and Z or whatever it is, but, obviously we all know that can get out of control, right? But even if that doesn't happen, just the creativity, the freedom of the artist, you really have to be balanced with whatever art it is. You have to have outside stuff. You got to look at it holistically. You have to have some type of other interest. I feel, I don't know. But, exercise is important. Just, eating right. The whole package needs to be looked at. Because often I see folks come in, I'm depressed, what have you. Okay, or they're actually this one in particular came in, I need to stop drinking. My first question, why? Well, this is happening, and so-and-so told me I need to come here. Okay, that's so-and-so. What do you feel? And the person was kind of like, but, to me, that's never the issue. That's like a byproduct of the issue, substance use. So I typically do not, everybody has their own approach, but for me, I typically do not harp on that initially, because I want to know what the root is. And then typically what will happen with me, we're dealing with whatever root issues it is. If the substance use is a problem for the person, they will bring it back up. Then we can address it, right? Because, me saying, you need to go have a detox or whatever, what does that mean if you're not ready? Well, I always look at the whole person. It's not just how they present, it's just, to what community they're from, where did they grow up, what section of the, community they grow up. What's the history of the community, why is there a North End and a South End? How did that happen? And why are the demographics so different? Why are the resources so different in North and South? All that stuff you got to take into consideration, because those become barriers for folks. So when you meet them for the first time, like if it's a medical provider or what have you, they don't have contact names and all that. They come in, your knee hurts. Okay, well, you know what I mean? But, from my position within the health plan, it's always looking at the whole person. And that goes for everyone, the artists included. You just have to look at the whole person. That's my spin on it.
Wow. You just dropped so many gems so quickly and casually. I'm just like, floored. But so, like how you had mentioned, with the substance abuse and things like that, that's really common. Most of us have, different things on our riders. If we go somewhere, we expect, X, Y, and Z to be there, or whatever the case may be. And, that can be a serious struggle. But I think a lot of times people don't understand necessarily if they're having troubles with their mental health. So like, for instance, sometimes you go, and I can't think of the name of the chart, but how you have to answer, like, are you sleeping well at night? Are you eating right? And all that other stuff. And it's like, after looking at some of that stuff, a lot of times the stuff that we can just kind of, put to the side, we don't realize that it's a sample or like kind of showing you that your mental health is declining. So I think it's really, really important for artists to be aware. Well, anybody really, but yeah, especially with the creatives, like you said, not thinking linear. Sometimes it can be indicators there that we just kind of ignore or don't know that it's telling us that something underlying is happening.
Yeah, I don't know how to. When I talk about artists, I don't know how to better explain it. Like, I just know like certain folks, if their creativity gets, how do I put it, stunted, it seems like that's always something to unblock, right? Or artists want to unblock, whether it's whatever way possible, they want to unblock it. Which, depending on how you go about that, can either help or exacerbate the condition.
Right.
I mean, it's really such a deep topic, and I'd like to hear from, I don't know, artists, like, what are they, because if you're, obviously if you're an established whatever, but if you're up and coming, trying to make it, you know what I mean, trying to get to where you want to be, there's a lot of challenges, barriers, like how do you deal with that rejection? Or how do you deal with someone saying, oh, this sucks? Like, take that. Do you keep going? Do you keep believing, or do you get depressed? Drink more? Like, how do you respond to that? What are your focuses? Are you ready for that? Are you prepared for people to say, this is terrible, I don't like it? So all that stuff.
Yeah, those factors weigh heavy. And so it's important, I think, to have these discussions so that way people know what to look out for and to seek resources when necessary.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, I really appreciate you sharing those thoughts. And do you have any suggestions for somebody that's listening now that might be like, oh, I didn't even realize maybe I do have an issue with X, Y, and Z? What advice do you have to offer them to seek help?
Wow. I mean, it's different for each person. Some people, which I think is great, can see themselves and acknowledge, hey, I need to, get this addressed, right? Others, they may need people close to them, friends, loved ones, saying, hey, this is going on. You may want to go, because there's so many, especially for young folks, there's so much going on nowadays, and I see so many young people in crisis mode, even if they're not seeking help. I just meet folks who are in crisis, even if they're not coming for that help. I don't know. I would say if you're feeling, whatever you're feeling, feel. But if it's not, I don't know, if it's not a positive thing, you need to seek out someone. Maybe start by going to your, I don't know who, it depends who's in your life. Is it a parent? Is it a teacher, a coach, a religious leader? I don't know. Whoever's someone you confide in, and hopefully that person can steer you, okay, well, maybe you should get an assessment. Or even if they go to their primary care doctor, right? They typically would do, an assessment, a quick assessment, the PHQ, just get the score off of that and go from there. I mean, I would like to see folks not just ignore it. I'll just say, I guess, last thing, I think like a real big red flag for multiple conditions, that people could be diagnosed with, really watch your sleep. If you're not getting quality sleep or you can't fall asleep, that's a red flag to really watch. I always ask that question with folks. How's your sleep? because that's huge. When that's off, a lot of times it can be like the signs of something. And it may not be. It may not be the person needs to be, in treatment or what have you for a long period of time. And I think that's where people get hung up. Like, I'm going to be on these meds for my lifetime. I got to go see this person for my life. Well, I'll be honest. Some people do, but not everyone. So, and I see a lot of us staying away from getting help because I don't want to be on meds. I don't want to see this person weekly or bi-weekly, right? And then things just continue to spiral, out of control from there. So it's always better to address it sooner than later. And also what I do dislike is when, like I said at the beginning, the stigma now it has lifted a lot from the younger generation, but I still see folks, my age and older, just not with it. I actually had a young person I was working with, I said something to the effect, well, I'm glad you decided to come in. The person said, well, my parents didn't want me to come in because they didn't believe I should go talk to someone about, X, Y, and Z. And that hurt me. I was like, damn, that really hurt me when I heard the person say that. My thing is just, something's not right. Please address it as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing all your wisdom with us and tips and everything. So, I really encourage everybody to take everything that he said to heart. And I really thank you.
Hey, it was my pleasure. I hope you invite me back. Because I can talk for much longer. But, it was good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that was really, really great to have him on, and we do hope that you take advantage of the information and knowledge that he shared, because we could all use it, especially in these specific times. But okay, we're gonna take a quick pause for the cause, which means more beats by yours truly, and then we'll be back with music industry news right after this. Hey, and we're back with music industry news. Vinyl Me Please has announced that there's a new Denver pressing plant opening at the end of this year. It's going to be 14,000 square feet, and it's going to be located in Denver's Rhino neighborhood, which is also known as the River North Art District. And the plant's going to be constructed with music fans in mind, so that way you'll be able to take tours of the space and actually watch firsthand how the records are made, which will be a great experience. So, shout out to our people in the Denver area, which is where Sparks Radio broadcasts from. And anybody that might be traveling to the area, will definitely be something to check out once that's open. And, speaking of more pressing plants, the Memphis record pressing, the $30 million expansion that we had kind of mentioned earlier, that's actually going to make it the largest vinyl record maker in North America. And so, that's tremendous. This is coming at a great time, especially with vinyl shortages. So the fact that, there's more opening up and expanding and all that, it's going to mean that they'll be able to produce more a lot faster. And, hopefully that'll give independent artists who want to release vinyl a better opportunity to do so, since a lot of the major labels have started to do it since the vinyl resurgence has been picking up and shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. So yeah, the $30 million expansion in Memphis is actually allowing them to double the jobs that they have. It's going to be 172 jobs with an average wage of about $42,000 plus benefits. So it's a wonderful thing for the world, a wonderful thing for everybody in the Memphis area. And they're also working on expanding a warehouse that they currently have, and that's going to open as soon as next month. So it'll allow them to be able to get the vinyl out to people a lot quicker. So good news all around. All right, and you may have heard some of the buzz lately, but Universal Music Group has expanded their partnerships with both The Weeknd and Drake as well. And so specifically, The Weeknd's deal extends the relationship across his recorded music with Republic Records, music publishing with UMG Publishing, and merchandise, audiovisual projects, and Drake's is similar to that. So, they're looking at really locking these artists in. Obviously they're offering them some benefits too, but it seems to be another trend going on. So yeah, keep your eyes open for that, because I feel like we're definitely going to be talking about this a lot more in future episodes. Right, and Tech House has overtaken techno as the most popular electronic music genre, according to a newly released report that was presented at Ibiza's International Music Summit. So, after holding second place for 2 years, Tech House has climbed to number 1, while house music stays right in that third spot, but techno dropped to second place. So the report also showed some interesting things. So one of them was that the electronic music industry topped $6 billion last year, and they've been making huge strides in Web3 and the whole metaverse, NFT world and all that. And dance music artists are topping the list of the most in-demand creators in the NFT space. So, those are some good tips to know, some helpful hints, especially for my fellow creators that work in house and electronic music like I do as well. This is some good news for us. And so, if you've ever had an interest in it, if you haven't done it, it's definitely something to kind of take a look at if it fits with your brand. And yeah, definitely some exciting things. I happen to love making electronic music, so I was really excited to hear that information. All right, and BMG has taken a stake in Primal Scream's catalog. So once again, this is one of those things where we keep talking about these catalogs getting bought up, or whether they just take stakes in it or buy it completely. This is something that we're seeing a lot more often lately. Maybe within the last couple of weeks. It may have slowed down some, but it doesn't appear that it's going anywhere anytime soon either. So yeah, this deal gives them a 50% stake in the writer's share of 11 of the band's albums, from Sonic Flower Groove to Chaos Moses. So this is ranging from 1987 all the way to 2016. So it's got all the big hits, Moving On Up, Loaded, Rocks, and Come Together. So it's a lot. there, and yeah, it's a trend that we're still seeing happening. All right, and this one, Bob Dylan is re-recording some songs, but not for the purpose that you would think, that we keep seeing people doing it so they could have rights to stuff, but he's doing it for T-Bone Burnett, who said that he's created an entirely new analog format. So he said it's something special, and it's called Ionic Originals. And according to him, this is a direct quote, an Ionic Original is the pinnacle of recorded sound. It's archival quality, it's future-proof, it's one of one. And these newly developed discs will advance the art of recorded sound and mark the first breakthrough in analog sound reproduction in more than 70 years, end quote. And so, basically the pictures and stuff that have been circulating, it looks like a really, really shiny vinyl album, or maybe like a cross between vinyl and CD. But he says it's totally different and it's going to change the way that we interact with the music. So I'm excited to see what happens. There's a lot of people with a lot of different thoughts about it. Some say it's probably just a scam. Can it really be that awesome? But I imagine that's probably what happened with all the formats that preceded this as well. So I guess we just kind of got to wait to see. But especially having Bob Dylan on the project, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to rush to grab it once it's available. So, you got somebody that's got a classic catalog on an entirely new format that you can actually hold in your hands. It's something tangible, which is what we've mentioned before. People are actually looking for these days. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Warner Music has launched a podcast network with shows by Jason Derulo, Lupita, and, tons of others. And so it's part of their way of saying that it'll allow them the series is actually called Interval Presents, so it'll allow them to develop and share podcast content that propels fresh and engaging conversations around trending topics that matter to diverse communities. And so, yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Podcasting is an interesting world, and it's something that we're seeing a lot of lately. And, with Spotify, they kind of hedged their bets on that, which actually brings me to the next news story, which is, they saw it was going to be something that's going to be popular, which it really is. So they spent lots and lots of money on it, but it's also costing them so much. So they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on podcasts, the podcast software, of course, the $200 million exclusive rights for Joe Rogan's show. But yeah, their ad-supported business, where it accounts for like the podcast costs and all that, has reported a negative gross margin in the last quarter. So they didn't say, well, Spotify said that they didn't expect it to be profitable this year, but they thought that they were pretty close. But yeah, they're not getting a lot of new listeners. So they were typically adding about 5 to 10% monthly active users per quarter. So they were thinking that the podcast would help that, but lately it's kind of fallen off. And so, yeah, we're going to have to kind of wait and see what's going to go on there. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more music industry news right after this. Okay, and we're back with round 2 of music industry news. WOM is a new decentralized music platform that's going to be launched worldwide, coming up here pretty soon. It's from WOM Labs. It's a new music NFT platform, specifically in this new Web3 era that we're in, and it focuses on fair, transparent, shared, and open immersive music ecosystem, which we're actually hearing a lot of. So there are a lot of these platforms that are coming up now because they're recognizing the opportunity for artists to actually be able to earn more from their music and interact with fans in different ways. So one of their main goals is creators can easily create and issue NFTs through WOM and have access to the revenues in connection with their creation. So, that's whether you're a lyricist, composer, singer, otherwise. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff going on there. And so this is definitely one of those. We've had a few that we've mentioned that seem to kind of stand out from what everyone else is claiming, and this appears to be one of those. So, yeah, pay attention to what they got going, because there's probably tons of opportunities there. But yeah, this is something that's really important to be happening, because if you look at the rates that artists get paid for having their music on streaming services, it's just incredibly unfair. So yeah, there's a problem, and we've got a lot of problem solvers rushing in to try to close out that gap. So hopefully we can get to something like this to where it'll be easier for people to be able to listen to the music they want, the artists to be fairly compensated for it, without people having to have multiple streaming platforms downloaded just to be able to listen to your artist's music. So yeah, just something to keep an eye out for and to be aware of. All right, and King Crimson and their label are suing Universal Music Group over unpaid royalties from Kanye West's Power since 2010. So the song was notably built around the audio sampling of King Crimson's 21st Century Schizoid Man. So Kanye had intersped the audio sample and then used the title line from the song, of course, with his rap lyrics. So everybody knows it when they hear it. It's been in all types of commercials, advertisements. You can't really go anywhere without still hearing it, and it's been that way since 2010. And so initially when the song was released, there wasn't a licensing agreement in place. So, the label found out, they worked something out, and so they were supposed to be getting 5.33% royalties on each copy that was sold, and they said that hasn't happened. So yeah, they're going to court to make sure that they get their money, and hey, it's something that they haven't said exactly how much they're owed, but I'd imagine it would be quite a lot. All right, Pandora's listener decline just continues with the last financials released by SiriusXM. So Pandora had 50.6 million monthly active users in the first quarter of 2022, which was down from 55.9 million at the same time last year and 52.3 million in the last quarter of last year. So it's just steadily declining. Something to be aware of. Still make sure that your music is on all the platforms, but they're losing a lot of listeners, and that's kind of unfortunate, just because that was one of the things that was created for discovery of independent music. But by the time Spotify came on the scene and letting people choose which songs they listen to instead of having the radio style thing happening, they just haven't really bounced back from that just yet. But hey, it was a great thing that they were trying to do, and I hope that they can recover, because it's a good thing for independent artists to have their music kind of mixed in with some of the major label music. So yeah, I'm hoping that they can kind of either turn it around or stop the bleeding a little bit. All right, and this is some great news for hip-hop heads, new and from yesteryear. But Yo MTV Raps is returning on Paramount Plus May 24th. The top 50 past episodes of the series started airing just this last Thursday. So yeah, it's great that they're doing that. I know I'm really excited about catching up on some of the old shows and just kind of reminiscing a little bit. But yeah, the new episodes coming up will have guests like Freddie Gibbs, Lotto, IDK, T Grizzly, Trina, and a lot more. And so yeah, it's just dropping every week. So May 24th through July 12th, we get to see some new episodes. All right, and Spotify has entered the metaverse with an official launch on Roblox. And so, yeah, if you're a faithful listener, you've heard how many times we've mentioned Roblox and their collaborations with the music industry. And so now Spotify is the first music streaming service to jump on board. So they have Spotify Island, and they're aiming to, quote unquote, create a place where fans can link up and create new sounds together, hang out together in digital spaces, gain access to exclusive virtual merch, and many other things. So the company says that it's trying to make an opportunity for artists to connect with their fans and just kind of make it more of an experience instead of just, a one-sided thing. And they said that Spotify's portion of those sales from merch will go directly back to the artists themselves. And so, yeah, we'll wait and see how that works out. But, new and exciting opportunities there. All right, and finally, in the festival circuit there, Mary J. Blige's Strength of a Woman Festival and Summit is happening this weekend, and Pharrell has moved his Something in the Water Fest to DC for Juneteenth, and Darius Rucker is bringing a music festival to North Charleston in October. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I love the fact that these artists are spearheading these festivals, and definitely something that independent artists can kind of take a look at and see how it's being done and see if they can create something similar in their own hometowns or wherever they're at now. So hint, hint, if you've got something special that you want to see happen in your city, there's a great chance that you can make it happen. So yeah, granted, these are big names, but hey, independent artists have power too. All right, that does it for music industry news for this week. We're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then I'll be back before heading out for the night. and that does it for this week's edition of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. Once again, we thank you for tuning in. We send a huge shout out to you, listeners. Huge shout out to Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Sparks Radio out of Denver, Colorado. And it's just been a great time. We hope that you take advantage of the resources that were shared here today. And we'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. Tune in, tell a friend, and we'll see you then. Peace.